Hey everyone, welcome back to Blurred Lines, Crime, Conspiracy, and the Truth Behind the Gossip. I'm your host, Ashley or Ashtootrippy. I just want to give you a content warning before we move on with this episode. This episode discusses mass murder, gun violence, and the deaths of children. Listener discretion is strongly advised. So I just wanted to put that out there before I get started here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, my name is Ashley, and we talk about true crime, conspiracy theories, and gossip here. Today, we are talking about an unsolved case. We will get to that in a moment. I just wanted to apologize to you guys. Last week was a kind of a hard week for me. It was my birthday week. I know a lot of people don't see a birthday as being a hard week, but it was for me, and I just needed to take a little breather. So we are back today. We are back with another crime from New Mexico, this time in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And this is Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre. This episode is going to be entitled Blood on the Lanes. Now, just a brief disclaimer before we begin with this devastating crime. And I think it's an important note because while I was actually doing this podcast and putting together the script for it, I actually noticed that the Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre is one of the most frequently misreported cases in true crime. Victims' names, even ages, and even survivor statuses have incorrectly repeated for decades. This episode is based only on the information currently recognized by authorities and families, including victims who later died from complications related to the shooting in this case. Out of respect for those affected, this episode will avoid speculation and will clearly separate confirmed facts from unanswered questions. As always in my episodes as well, I will be giving some of my opinions and also my perspective, so just be aware of that, okay? Now, today's case is one that continues to haunt its community and probably even beyond that for the last 35 years. Again, this is unsolved. But on February 10th, 1990, 7 people were shot execution style inside a bowling alley in Las Cruces, New Mexico. 5 of those victims ultimately lost their lives. 2 survived, and as of 2025, no one has ever been charged. This is a story of the Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre. In 1990, Las Cruces was a growing city in southern New Mexico. Not immune to crime, but unprepared for violence of this specific scale. Las Cruces is located in the southern part of New Mexico and is right near the Mexican border. The bowling alley was more than a place to bowl. It was a huge building that served as the town's epicenter. They had many employees, they even had a daycare, and it was part of the daily rhythm of working families. It was familiar, routine, and most important, it was trusted. That trust would be broken in minutes. On the morning of February 10th, 1990, 7 people were inside the bowling alley. Stephen Turan, who was 26, he was a pin mechanic. Paula Holguin, who was Stephen's stepdaughter. Valerie Turan, who was Stephen's daughter. Paula was 6, Valerie was 2. Amy Hauser, who was 13. She was a middle school student working at the daycare. Now this is it's different, publicized differently. So Stephen has said that Amy was not an employee. She was helping around. So I don't know if she was an employee or if she wasn't. Stephanie Sinak, who was 34. Melissa Repass, who was Stephanie's daughter. And Ida Holging, who was a cook as well as an employee. These are coworkers, parents, and children, starting what should have been just an ordinary day. So again, this bowling alley was an epicenter of Las Cruces. It was a huge building, and a lot of people gathered there. On this morning, they were gathered there for breakfast because they had a Saturday morning breakfast that they hosted or that they had there, and a lot of people were there for that reason. Now, at some point in the morning, a gunman entered the bowling alley. The victims were forced to the ground. They were shot execution style, and there was no warning, no chance, and no escape. Stephen Turan was killed. Paula Hogan, just 6 years old, was also killed. Valerie Turan, only 2, was rushed to the hospital but died shortly after arriving. Amy Hauser, who was 13 years old, was also killed. Stephanie Sanek survived the initial shooting but suffered catastrophic injuries. 2 people survived the attack that day: Melissa Repass, who was 12, and Ida Holguin, who was 33 at the time. The shooters fled, leaving devastation behind. Now, so I want to give you guys a little bit more perspective on what exactly happened. Now, this wasn't just an attack where these men went in and they shot them and there wasn't any motive. This attack was done in this specific bowling alley because it seemed like the 2 men had actually later on, I think we'll hear about it in a little bit. I don't remember if I put it in this script or not. We hear that these men, or at least one of the men, because there's 2 different descriptions given by the victims. At least one of them was actually in the bowling alley the night before and may have been casing the bowling alley. So these men knew exactly what the routine was. So they could have even possibly been there for up to a week in the area to see what was going on. A group of the women were put in the office, and they were forced to give one of the guys the combination to the safe. Now, they took around $4,000, but it is said in some reports, again, I'm going to kind of put this out there. Some reports say they took all of it. Other reports said they did not. Don't know exactly what's true. Now, the 911 call in this case is probably the most notable, and probably if you guys know about this case, you know about it from the 911 call. So despite being shot 5 times, Melissa Repass, just 12 years old, managed to reach the phone, and she contacted 911. That call brought police and paramedics to the scene, and investigators believe her actions saved lives. Her bravery remains one of the most extraordinary aspects of this case. I want to give to you, I'm going to actually pull up a part of this. I'm not going to let you guys hear all of it, but I'm going to pull up a portion for you guys to hear that 911 call, because I think it is important to hear, and it's also very haunting. So just another discretion warning for you guys. If this is a 12-year-old, her name is Melissa Repass, and she is the one that dialed 911. And she is the one that brought paramedics and possibly saved her life as well as another. And I just want to reiterate, she was shot at this time as well.
Las Cruces Bowl? Yes. Okay, and there were shots fired?
Yes. All of us were hurt.
Huh?
All of us were hurt. I think I'm the only one conscious.
All of you were hurt? Okay, we'll get an ambulance rolling.
Please.
Okay, what's your name?
Melissa Repass. Please hurry.
Okay, Melissa, we've got them dispatched. Did you see who did it?
No, sir. They told us all to get down. They shot me 5 times.
Okay, we'll get them rolling, Melissa. Just hang on, take a deep breath. We've got patrol units in around. How many people were hurt?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
7 people were hurt?
Yes, I think. I
7
don't know.
somebody's hurt. Okay, Melissa.
It hurts.
It hurts, okay.
Okay, so that's all I'm going to play for you guys, but if you guys ever want to take a look at the 911 call, it's basically available everywhere. I also want to bring to your attention, I didn't rent or buy it, but there is a movie out about this. It's called A Nightmare in Las Cruces. Now, I did watch the trailer for it, but unfortunately, I just don't think that it probably brought the light that was needed, because there is like footage that's shown in that movie, but it seems like there's a lot of reenactments, and I don't feel like something like this should be reenacted, in my opinion. So We'll just put that there. Now, emergency responders arrived to a horrific scene. Families were then notified, and the city of Las Cruces went into complete shock. They also got national attention, but there was no answers. None. Stephanie Senek, who was aged 34, survived the shooting, but her injuries permanently altered her life. She endured years of medical complications, and in August of 1999, she died as a direct result of injuries sustained during the massacre. She is officially recognized as a fatality of this crime. So unfortunately, she did succumb to her injuries. It altered her life completely, and unfortunately, she did not survive. Now, the investigation, the Las Cruces Police Department opened an extensive investigation. They had tips pouring in where they also did a Unsolved Mysteries episode. It was very brief. I watched this episode. It was included with an assassination. I just fast forwarded through a lot of it. But it was a very short, maybe 5-10 minute segment of this case to bring forward. And I will also include in the show notes down below where you can locate the composites of the two men that have said to did this crime. And this is still an open investigation. Again, this is unsolved. Now, there was no suspects that were ever charged. There were no leads that were actually followed, and the case remains, as I stated, open and active. Now, this case is often misreported, and I kind of wanted to go over why. It involves multiple children. It involves delayed fatalities and long-term survivors, with Stephanie Senek as being a long-term survivor, but misprinted as being just dying from natural causes, not necessarily from the injuries. And of course, over time, details get blurred. So over the time frame from the 90s, things just got blurred. Things got misinterpreted, and errors were often repeated. As well as misinformation being whispered, this being a very small town, a lot of misinformation was given. I, for one, believe accuracy matters, especially for the families that are still seeking justice in this case. And there is families, including the one victim that survived, Melissa Repass, that wants to see justice get served in whatever form that may be, especially seeing as there's a possibility of the people that did this no longer being alive. So in February of 2025, 35 years later, city officials and family members marked the 35th anniversary. Flowers were placed, a moment of silence was held, and the bowling alley is now closed, but the grief remains. And to my understanding in doing my research into this case, I also noticed that they do this like every 10 years. Every decade that goes by, it seems to me that they have news stations that talk about it. There's people that talk about it, including the victim herself, the one still alive, the victim's families, as well as people that still live out in Las Cruces. Now, for a lot of you guys that don't know, Las Cruces is not only a border town to Mexico, there is also a university. New Mexico State University is also out there. So there's a lot of younger population out there. Now, during this time in the 90s, again, it was more of a close-knit family, smaller town vibe than it is now. So that also takes into account a lot of things as well. Now, again, the current status is this case remains unsolved as of today. There is a $25,000 reward available through Crime Stoppers of Las Cruces, Donna Ana County, for information leading to an arrest. So if someone knows something, definitely report it to the Crime Stoppers of Las Cruces, Donna Ana County. I will leave that linked in the show notes down below. This is tragic, and this is something that I think a lot of people lose touch with because of the misinformation that is printed, along with a lot of people don't want to look at it because the youngest victim in this case was only 2 years old, and it was a brazen crime that took place in a small area. I have seen people tell this story in their own way, alleys together as well. I remember hearing of another one. If you guys know of it, let me know. But I remember hearing of another one that was done in a bowling alley. And I was trying to look it up while I was doing this, but I was like, no, I'm going to get distracted. I better not do it. Before I end this episode, if you guys ever have any case recommendations, you guys have any questions, comments, anything like that, the best way to get a hold of me and get my attention is to send me an email, ashtootrippy@gmail.com. That's ASHTOOTRIPPY@gmail.com. And I will always leave that down in the show notes below. There's also many other ways you can contacting me, including any of my social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, where this is also posted. Be sure you're subscribed after you listen. And you can always DM me. I am always on those sites. And of course, be sure to follow me for newer cases and things like that. I am thinking right now, I know a lot of you guys probably don't follow this, but and some of you guys do because you guys follow me on TikTok. But Gypsy Rose Blanchard, there's new Freedom of Information Act documents and videos that have come out over the past 6 months on her. And so I've been always debating doing a podcast on Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And seeing as Gypsy Rose Blanchard is doing podcasts about being a free woman, or I don't know what the heck it's supposed to be about. I mean, and maybe manipulating people with people that claim that they're doctor. I don't know what she's planning, but she's doing that on YouTube. So I was thinking maybe it's time for me to start a 2 or 3 parter on Gypsy Rose Blanchard. For those of you guys that aren't aware, I have been reporting on Gypsy Rose Blanchard since she got out of jail, and I followed this case since 2015. I used to support Gypsy Rose Blanchard, and then all of a sudden I noticed little things like, I don't know if you guys remember, I have it over on my YouTube channel. I don't know, I started remembering little things like the Locks of Love thing that she had posted right out of jail, promoting them and not cutting enough hair to actually donate to them or having enough hair. So yeah, that was really strange to me. That was one of the very first red flags to me. And for those of you guys that aren't aware, I also have my past with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She messaged me a couple times. The first time was to correct something I had said in one of my videos on TikTok. And then the second time was to try and dox her current boyfriend, Ken's ex, which I later found out was not an ex, was actually a roommate. So all alleged. Yeah. Anyways, I have my past. Ken has also tried to harass me and tell me to basically shut the hell up, and I'm not going to. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely let me know. But back to this case. Again, 7 people were shot, 5 lost their lives, 2 survived, one of them a child whose courage actually saved lives. And 35 years later, justice has not been served in any way, shape, or form. If you have any information, contact Crime Stoppers or the Las Cruces Police Department. Again, I'll leave that all linked down below in the show notes. Sometimes the truth lives in the blurred lines. Again, I'm Ashley, and this has been Blurred Lines, Crime, Conspiracy, and the Truth Behind the Gossip. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk about it next time. Bye, guys.